Welcome, everyone. I don't think it's no, there was like the keynote, so it's not the first session after lunch. So you kind of like came out of your food coma, hopefully, and now ready for some more energy, because I tend to be a little bit more high energy, a little bit fast talking. So I'm sorry it's not a YouTube video. You cannot play it like on a half-time speed. But I think it's recorded, so maybe you go home, watch it half-time speed, and then it will make more sense. I get it. Like, you're here as an attendee, but admit it, you're dreaming of being on this stage, right? You want to be here as well. Today you can a little bit. So if you take out your phone, normally I have this up before the session, so people are curious enough to already kind of like look at it. It should be like a 1-minute task. Scan the QR code, go to the URL, enter your name, your company, and a couple of things that you're working on. If you want to be part of like the demo set that I'm going to show today, because what we're basically going to do is like no slides, no nothing, just code. I'm going to do file new .NET MAUI app, and I'm going to build kind of like the companion app for future tech, because there isn't one, right? I looked in the App Store, there's no app. You have to go to the website, and it's like, only half responsive, so it's not really great. We're going to build the .NET MAUI version of the future tech app so that you can look at the schedule, look at all the speakers, and that kind of stuff. If you want to be part of the data set, this is kind of like your way to do that. Cool. Keep it. There's a little bit of AI sprinkled over whenever you put your data in there. Keep it family friendly. Like I said, it is recorded. I would hate for the Future Tech YouTube channel to be R-rated after this, so try to keep it friendly. Okay, cool. Everyone got the URL, entering some things. Cool. All right, so you are right now here as an attendee, as I mentioned. What, did I say no slides? That was all a trick. It's all the show. That's rule one of like the speakerati. It's all show. So you're here, only a few slides to give you a little bit of an introduction, because when I was going to these conferences as an attendee, I had no clue how this all works, right? Like, you just go here, you see all this amazing stuff. Hopefully you'll learn something, or at least be a little bit entertained, lots of networking. But have you ever kind of like wondered how the speakers actually get up here, right? Like, there's a lot of speakers, there's a lot of events. If you're a big enough name, which probably James, right? Like, they ask James, like, oh, please come to us. I haven't reached that level yet. But typically what happens is like, hey, you will, an event will say like, oh, we have this event that's going to happen in Utrecht on March 13, and you can submit your sessions, right? Like, that kind of like fits whatever we want to do here. And that goes through a system that's called Sessionize, which is really cool, and that looks like kind of like this for each event. And this one is closed, right? Like, I just took this screenshot now. But typically this would be like, hey, a little bit of information, what they're looking for. As a speaker, you would be like, okay, I've got this session, building a .NET MAUI app live, or showing something about .NET Aspire, or something completely different. And then the conference will be like, okay, this looks nice. We're going to invite you because we think this kind of like fits whatever we're trying to do here. So that's how we kind of like end up here. And you know, then maybe this Sessionize system also has an API. And I love APIs, right? You can build an app against that super easily. Most apps are just, you know, in some shape or form, pulling in data from an API and just shows it that way. So this is the NDC app. NDC is another event all around the world, all kinds of locations. And they have kind of like what I'm going to build right here. So it's like, no disrespect to whoever built this, but it's not complicated, right? We have a list of like speakers that you can go to. We have a list of the sessions that are going to happen right now. Then a little bit about like the venue and a little bit about the event, and you know, we're mostly there. So let's see. We have about an hour. Let's see how far we can kind of like get with that with a .NET MAUI app. So that's kind of like what I'm going to show you. Just, you know, to see like, hey, it's just another .NET app. Is there anyone who is not a .NET developer in here? Okay, a little bit. So you're going to have a little bit more trouble maybe to keep up if you don't know all the things yet. I'm going to, you know, not explain every little thing here, but just to show you kind of like, hey, if you have experience with maybe other areas of .NET, building a mobile app is just another option now with .NET MAUI. So with that, let's just, you know, go into Visual Studio. I created a file new .NET MAUI app. This is just a default template, but because the kind of like the first deployment, especially to the Android emulator, can take a little bit of time, that's already what I did just before I got up here on the stage. Because every incremental kind of like change goes a little bit faster, but the initial one takes some time, so that's why I already did that, so that we're not all collectively looking at some loading screen. But here you are. This is if you do like here in Visual Studio, file, new project, which I can't do right now, you will have the ability to choose a MAUI app, and this is what it comes up with. We have a little checkbox that says include sample content, I think. And that will give you like a full-fledged app with a local database and MVVM and all the things set up. So if you're like, hey, I like to explore that way, that's totally something that you can do. This is just a little bit more bare bones of like, hey, one page and an incrementing button, right? That's what we like to do at Microsoft. We have incrementing buttons in our templates. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. I've already created a little bit of an API. So Sessionize has their own API. I put a little bit of sauce on that so that the data comes out in the structure that I wanted to. And to actually do that, like let's inspect it. We have like here, what did I call it? Also Gerald.fyi, my own short little link. Server speaker, I think, is what I made from it. So it's on, I'm Dutch, right? So I have it on the Azure free tier, so it takes a little while for the first time to come up. Here we go, pretty print, cool. We have Willy Vase, the tech wizard you never know you needed. See, that's where the AI comes in with the enchanted world of C#, Python, and JavaScript spells. This is amazing. Unleashing the magic. So I could just fill an hour with just reading over these things. So there's a couple of people who put their things in here, which is really cool. Thank you for that. And then there's someone who tried to hack me here, from what it seems. And then we have a couple of the extra, like the serious ones, right? Like the actual ones that are here. So if we actually, you have been pretty active. Thank you. I've done this before, and there was like 2 people who did it. It's like, okay, that's nice. It's all right. But here we have like the actual speakers, right? Like Glenn, Hakan. Is this still? Yeah, because these come from Sessionize. So we have the actual data in here, and the same thing for like the sessions right here, so that we have a list of sessions. Same thing here. There we go. See? So we got all the things. That's just what we can pull out. It's simple JSON, nothing complicated. So the first thing we do, of course, in C#.NET world is we create all kinds of abstractions and interfaces, right, so that we can dependency inject it and over-architecture it. Maybe this is a good time to kind of like introduce a little disclaimer that the code that you're about to see is not necessarily representative of how I write my code at my day job at Microsoft. It's a demo. You're like with 10,000s of people. For the people at home watching, there's tens of thousands of people here watching me type, and I'm not good at typing under pressure. So I don't actually know why I'm on stage doing these things, but you know, here we are. So you know, it's not necessarily the best code, but just to show you it works, right? See this as kind of like the prototyping stage of things. So I'm not going to do all the interfaces and the clean architecture and all that. What I am going to do is do the models, right? The models, that's what we want to do. So we have like a session and a speaker. So let's start with that. Add class. There we go. Loading templates, of course, why not? I'm also very anxiously looking at the little update icon here. I just hope it doesn't kind of like decide to update right here. That would be not great. Then I have to sing a song as well. I have to go Dennis and Julie on this session. There we go, session, okay, and speaker, right? That's the 2 things we want. So we have this little class right here, speaker. Like this is a model, right? You know what to do here, properties, blah, blah, blah. So I created a little snippet, which I called speaker class, I think, tap, and boom. This is not AI, this is just a plain old snippet that I prepared for this, because this is not the most exciting thing to watch, right? So kind of like what this does is say, hey, we have system.text.json.serialization, really cool, with all the property names. Whenever you see name and company and whatever, we're going to deserialize that as a speaker. And the same thing kind of like for our session, right? I like my file scope namespaces right here. Let's do it like that. And same thing for the session, right? So we have the session class, boom, and we have the whole session thing right here, just so that you have to watch me type this whole thing. And now I'm messing up the indentation. Cool. Let's add the using right here. Perfect. So we got that set up. Now, the next step is, of course, to kind of like get that data, right? And we love to do that with services. So let's do a little folder with a service right here. Service, or services, I should call it actually. Doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's not going to be the most beautiful code that you've ever seen. New class. Let's make this the future tech service. I don't know. Let's make it that. Boom. Now, what we want to do here, of course, is get all that data in, right, and serialize that and all that kind of stuff. So AI is already trying to help me here. That's not what I want to do. But what I do want to do is kind of like have a private. Well, that pretty much does look what I want to do. Okay, so let's just do tab. All right, session over. Thank you. Well, That's cool. So here we go. Well, this is the power of AI. Microsoft would fire me if I don't mention AI like once every other sentence. So here we go. But this is cool, right? So we have this HTTP client here. It's going to inject it. I don't necessarily need that. I'm just going to create a new one. Again, is not necessarily the thing that you want to do, but for this code, it's fine. So let's have that. And we have a new HTTP client, and with that HTTP client, we're going to reach out to the endpoints. Here, it kind of like sees like api.futuretech.com, which is really cool, but not what I have. So I'm going to introduce my endpoints here, private string, base URL. No, let's make this speaker URL, do something like that. Which was HTTPS, we're not animals, .fyi/server speaker, right? I think that was it. And then we have another one for the session, right? So we got those. All right, perfect. Remove this, session, cool. So we're going to use that instead of this little thing here. And again, this is not, also the AI is not necessarily writing what I would write here, I guess. Because what I would do is, I think you also have like get string immediately async, right? So you don't have to do the whole get method manually. And you could do this a little bit smarter also with kind of like getting it as a stream and then JSON serialization if you really want to get into the performance, which can be super important for a mobile app. Then there is definitely smarter ways to kind of like do this, like I said, with the stream and kind of like doing it that way. But for now, again, demo code, so I can get away with it. Now I have the session. Why is it not showing up here? That's kind of interesting. Is IntelliSense not up to date here? Using future tech app.models, right? Should be there, session? Yeah, okay. So we got that, and of course, again, our JSON, system text JSON, fine. What's this doing? Possible null reference. No, it's not. I'm a good coder. There we go. Just add an exclamation mark, it's all fixed. So, perfect. Other endpoint for the session right here, so let's do that. And again, boom, exclamation mark, fixed. Again, not the best solution. Yes. I swapped them? Oh, thank you. Crowd debugging, love it. Session URL, did I? Oh, interesting. No, now I'm, you got me out of my focus, out of my flow. Now everything's ruined. Thank you. Thank you, Oscar AI. Okay, so we got that. So definitely don't just do this, right? Like this, if you were getting into the whole nullable thing, that's a complete talk all by itself, right? Because this was complaining like, hey, you can return a null here because, whenever you're going to serialize, maybe the string is empty, blah, blah, blah. It's going to return null. Everything crashes. That's not great. So you could either fix it by saying like, hey, this is going to be a nullable list, right? Like then at least the caller knows that you can expect null from this. Or you could maybe possibly better do like, hey, whenever this is null, kind of like this is an operator, right? Like whenever this is null, then don't return that. But instead, you're going to return a new collection, right? So you're just going to get an empty collection. So you're going to have like, okay, something that's empty, but at least it doesn't crash. Or you can just be a badass coder like me and say like, I know it's not empty. So that kind of like overrides that behavior. Okay, cool. So we got this going for us. Can remove that one. And again, like this definitely wasn't prepared, but AI got like pretty far with this whole thing, right? So that was pretty cool. Okay, so what we can do now, what you're probably used to, kind of like, who here already has experience with .NET MAUI? Oh, cool, all right. So you're here just to check like, okay, am I actually doing the right thing? Or is Gerald just, messing with us? I don't know. Cool. The other people, like ASP.NET? Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, cool. And that's one of the things that we try to do when we introduce .NET MAUI is like adopt or steal kind of like the concepts that ASP.NET already had, like, right? Because one of the things that we try to do is kind of like make the mobile target just another target for your C# and .NET code. So this whole like app builder pattern or whatever you want to call it comes from ASP.NET. At least there it's very known. And there you can also kind of like very simply leverage kind of like the dependency injection. Yes, AI, that's exactly what I want. we now adopted kind of like the exact same thing, right? So if you are not familiar with .NET MAUI yet, but you are familiar with ASP.NET or anything else, then you know like, oh, I want to do something with dependency injection, but ooh, this is all like mobile apps. Is that like super complicated? No, it's the exact same thing that you're doing with ASP.NET. It's just C# and .NET, so you know how to do this thing. And even AI knows how to do this thing, so that's cool. So now we have the singleton. In this case, like, you know, there's not a lot of stuff going on here, so this can be a singleton. If you're going to get into kind of like the page models and that kind of stuff, a singleton is probably not the best idea there. But again, that could be like a whole separate talk on its own. So for now, singleton is fine. Cool. Then we're going to go into our main page, right? Let's inject that thing. That's the only thing we needed to do to kind of like wire it up. Let's save this one. To register it in our dependency injection container. Like again, if you want to, if you kind of like care about mocking this or testing this or over-architecting this, then you would have kind of like your I don't know, event service interface or something, and you would do it like this, right? But you can also just, you know, why not just register the concrete implementation and you will just get that back. That's fine too. So there we go. Let's just inject it here. I can just say, hey, I expect this thing right here, future tag service. Boom. Future tag service. Yes, thank you. And then add a little read only. Yes. So there we go. This saves me so much typing. I can type under pressure now. This is amazing. Future text service. It's future text service. Okay, so what's happening now? Like, hey, the app is going to start up. It's going to look into the dependency injection container. Do I have anything that looks like a future text service? Yes, I have. I'm going to inject that through the constructor here, and we have that as a field right here. I like to add my keywords. So we got that here as a service. And then we can kind of like on counter click. We could do that, but instead let's do override. On navigated to is a good event to kind of like do this. We've navigated to this page and now we want to do something. And let's say, okay, we need something to kind of like store this. And that should be a public. Actually, we have another snippet for that that's built in, so you can use this too, which is prop, tab. So that creates a property. You all know that, right? And now we can do observable collection of. What do we want to do first? Let's do speakers. Speaker, there we go. No, not speaker class. My goodness, learn from AI, IntelliSense. AI is treating me right. Okay, perfect. So speakers, there we go. If I can type speakers, and then let's just create a new thing for this. Okay, so what's happening here? If you want to work with, like, at least for like .NET MAUI, an observable collection is not exclusive to .NET MAUI, but if you want to have a collection that is notified, or rather notifies the UI whenever something changes in the collection, use a observable collection. So that's going to notify whenever something happens in that collection and is going to adapt the view kind of like accordingly, like, hey, there's a speaker gone missing, so we are going to remove that from the list. It will update automatically, or whenever we add new speakers, that will show up too. Mind you, if you're going to use observable collection, something that if you're kind of like starting out, this does not respond to changes in a speaker object. So if you're going into a speaker object and you're going to change the name, that's not going to automatically kind of like come through. For that, you still have to kind of like implement on the speaker the iNotify property changed for the actual properties on the speaker. But if you're like, hey, I want to get the changes from the collection, then you want to have this observable collection, but that's only for the items in the collection, if that makes sense. Okay, so we got a new collection here, and then what we want to do here is say speakers. Speakers.clear, yeah, let's not do that. I'm just gonna, speakers is, well, I already have a new observable collection. I know where you're kind of like doing that, maybe. Get speakers, perfect. Why does that not work? Async, thank you. See, I'm just doing this to see if you pay attention. Perfect. And then we need to do await, and then I'm going to do something that's very, very gross. Async here, async void. Amazing. No? Why is this not good? Oh, because we just got the list. So that's why I did new observable collection. Thank you. Oh, so with that, okay, next point. Yes, this is totally planned. So what you want to do now, so we're getting like a regular collection from this, right? So you're going to get that list of speaker, which is amazing, but this goes into the area of data binding, right? So what you want to do is say like, hey, the binding context for this thing is this. I'll get to that later. And what you're saying is like, hey, whenever I'm going to bind an XAML that we're going to see in a second, you're going to read from the properties that you can see right here. But whenever you kind of like instantiate a new observable collection, it kind of like loses this connection with the binding context. So, okay, technical thing here. If you set the binding context, it's going to evaluate kind of like all the things like, hey, all the properties, all the values, whatever. And as long as you kind of like not instantiate a new instance of that object, it's going to get that binding context fine. So whenever something happens in that observable collection, it's going to update fine. But whenever you say new observable collection, it kind of like loses that binding context because it doesn't know suddenly what it's subscribed to anymore. So what you want to do, if you want to really kind of like, build it up from scratch, is indeed check like, hey, if speakers, let's do it properly then, if speakers.count is more than 0, return, yeah, I guess that makes sense too, but what we want to do is then say, hey, we're going to do speakers.clear, and then kind of like build it up again, so you want to get like var speakers like this, speakers, and then for each kind of like do this. So this way, you're not creating a new observable collection, and it will get notified of like all the things. Like ideally, I think this is a long-standing issue we want to have. There is, I think, a better, newer version of observable collection that kind of like batches this, because what will happen now is for each thing that gets added, it will kind of like generate these events, right? So that's not great for your performance. You rather want to say like, hey, I know there's a batch coming in, so just update all the things. Now the batch is done, and now update all the data on the screen, right? But we're not there yet. So that's what's going to happen. And if you kind of like want to say, hey, new observable collection here, you can totally do that. But then you would have to set the binding context to this again. And what that will do is kind of like fire it for all the properties. So your whole page is going to update with all the things. It's going to reevaluate the whole thing. That's typically not what you want to do. Okay, perfect. So we've got that. Now let's see if we can show this in some way. So this is my main page.xaml, right? So this kind of like showed the little .NET bot with the incrementing button just now. Which consists of like, hey, that's how .NET MAUI works, right? So for the people who are not super familiar with .NET MAUI, maybe I should have started with this a little bit. It's our framework for building mobile apps. Maybe you caught on to that. With C# and .NET, right? So when we have XAML, you can do everything. Everything you can do in XAML, you can do in C#. But the experience is not great. So typically what you want to do is XAML, even if you hate it a little bit, that's fine. I learned to love it. And now it's kind of like Stockholm Syndrome. I really can't get away from it if I wanted to. But we have like in .NET MAUI all these abstract pieces that translate to whatever it should be on each platform, right? That's kind of like what we do. So whenever we set a label, it's going to look like and feel like how a label should work on iOS if you run it on iOS, and Android if you run it on Android. Same for a button and all these things. But that's kind of like our power. We have that abstraction layer, and you can roll it out to all the platforms without worrying about the implementation. So cool, we've got that. Scroll view, make sure that you can scroll if needed. Vertical stack layout just does everything in a vertical stack, as you would imagine. And then we have the image, the floating .NET bot, label, and button. Okay, we don't need any of this. So let's remove it. And what we are going to do, we wanted to show the speakers, right? So for that, we have a collection view. And a collection view shows a list of data, right? So a lot of apps are going to show a list of data. And what I can say here is, hey, I want you to get the items through the item source is binding speakers, is what I call it, right? So that is what you want to do. And now this is where the kind of like the binding context comes in. So this will look whatever is set to binding context, in this case, this. So it will look at like the speakers right here. You could also do more MVVM, like this is already kind of like MVVM data binding stuff, right? But if you want to kind of like go full MVVM pattern, what you want to do is go with like, hey, I want to have a view model, right? So let's do add folder view models. All of this, like typically what you see in Microsoft products is that it works very well with the MVVM pattern. So that's what you see a whole lot of times. You can definitely do something else if that's what you want, but here we are. And let's do speakers view model, speakers page view model. Naming is hard. Also for me. So let's have that public speakers view model, and then we kind of like want to move this thing to here, right? So, oops, we have the little thingy here. If you're going to use data binding like this with like XAML pages and everything, make sure that this is a property, right? Your XAML page will only look for properties. Ask me how I know. So if you're going to just make it a field, you're going to wonder. It's not going to. I think we have some warnings and errors showing up for that now. Earlier, we didn't have that. I would spend more time than I would care to admit looking at my code, why it's not working, until I figured out, okay, it should be a property. So if you're going to take away anything from this session, please let it be that. Okay, so we have this one. Then we can move this. Well, this should be then, we can dependency inject that one as well, but let's make it list. Speakers, page, view, model. Not AI and not IntelliSense is helping me here. That's great. And not Oscar either. He's in the front like, no, you forgot this thing. And then instead of this, we can kind of like say, hey, boom, we have this view model, and we're going to say public void load data, something like that. Again, not the greatest thing in the world, but it works. Oh, and then we can finally say like, oh, await, whoops, no, not await, async task. Did we all go to Philip's talk a little bit earlier, async await? He probably told you what to actually do instead of what I'm doing right here. And then you can say public, yes, but I want to inject the future tech service. Yes, thank you. Here's the tech service. Sorry, this is kind of repeating what I did earlier just to show you how to do it in kind of like a view model. This thing, yes. Yes, okay, there we are. Perfect, so we got this, and then we probably also want to just give you the full picture, register that in here. The order doesn't really matter. You probably want to do this as a transient for page models, because if you're going to have some kind of state in there, you don't really like .NET MAUI handles for you when kind of like the pages and view models and that kind of stuff lives yes and no. So if you have like state in there and you're going to move around, then it might be a little bit weird that you see things popping up if you're going to do a singleton. So you probably want to do a transient in this case, and have that speaker model right here. And then if you kind of like register them all in this dependency injection container, right, then it's going to resolve all automatically through the whole thing. So if you just request this thing right here, that's going to work. And now I can here change this to be like the speaker space view model, speaker space view model, and change this whole thing. Oops, to that. Let's make this just view model, whatever. View model. Oh my goodness. View model. Then I actually speakers view model. No, not that one. And I don't need new either. I'm smart, I swear. Sorry. And then here I can say dot load data, right? Something like that. Oh, that makes sense. Yep. View model is speakers view model. Psst. Oh wait. All the squiggly's gone, almost, yes. Perfect. Okay, so if I run this, technically what should happen, we get the speakers page view model, binding context is set for this page, then in our actual page, we do item source to the speakers. Yes, that gets populated here in this view model, through our little load data call here to our endpoint, and we should see some kind of data, right? But what's going to happen, I see this is going to take a little bit longer because we changed a lot of code all in one go. So what is going to happen, I didn't specify anything for this collection view, right? So whenever you do that, because we're now just going to load the data, it is strongly typed objects in C#. We're going to get that because we deserialize it, et cetera, but we didn't really specify how to show it, right? So what it's going to do, like, hey, I have all these objects, but I'm just going to call the toString on it. So what we're going to see here is just a list of basically saying like future tech app dot models dot speaker. Right? So, and then we can kind of like start specifying like, hey, how do I actually want to show this up in this list of data, right? So I am forcefully a minimalistic designer just because I'm very bad at it. So, you know, it just, oh, there we go. See, all the speakers are coming up. Perfect. Normally they applaud here, but that's fine. So what you can then do is say like, hey, collection view dot item template. You can say for each item, this is what I want you to use, kind of like the layout for it, right? And that has to be a data template. And then we can start saying like, okay, do another vertical stack layout, right? That vertically stacks the things. And then we can say label text is binding. We can do another binding. Actually, I can do something smart to help me here, because I can say on the data template, like, hey, right now, XAML kind of like works runtime, right? It figures it out through reflection and all kinds of things that you don't really want. So it doesn't really know what a speaker is at this point, right? It just figures it out at runtime, like, okay, I have this collection of things and I'm going to show you. But we can feed the XAML a little bit of information to make this compile, actually, that will A, be better for your performance, and B, it will help you with the IntelliSense. And actually, whenever you make a mistake, like, hey, that field should be a property in my view model, but I can't find it, because IntelliSense will help you, and it will actually throw that error for you. And you can do that by specifying the X data type on a thing. But for that, I need to actually first kind of like import a namespace right here. Yeah, something about that. With which you can say XML namespace is kind of like you're using, but now you're doing it in XAML. And you just have to type the short name instead of kind of like CLR namespace, blah, blah, future tech app all the time. So that's not great. We can have this little kind of like shortcut right here. And let's make this view model dot view models. Yes. And what I can do now is say X data type view models. And actually speaker page view model, yes. So you can also see, like before I just had this, it's a little bit hard to see maybe on a big screen. There's kind of like little dots coming up here. And if I hover over it, it says like no data context found for binding speakers. I don't know what you're talking about. But whenever I start adding this, what did I do? Not this. Oh, come back, yeah. Now it goes away, because now it knows, like it even knows like it's an observable collection, right, of tick 1. So it doesn't really figure out the type yet, at least not in its tooltip, but it knows that this is here. And if I do the IntelliSense here, it knows that there is a thing speakers, right? And if I would add another property, we could do this thing. But now, excuse me, for my next trick, here in the collection view, there's an item template, because this whole page now looks at this view model, right? So at the complete view model, which is what you want. But now, in this data template, is going to look at one speaker in that collection. Right? So now we're suddenly changing scope, and we want to look at like the properties of one speaker. So now it's going to get confused. So if I actually, want to do things here with like name or whatever, it still doesn't know what I'm talking about, because right now it thinks like it should look for properties in this view model right here. So what we can do is say like on any level, you can add this kind of like to any element in .NET MAUI. You can say, hey, another X data type is, and now we need kind of like, oops, let's do it here so that we have them all grouped together, XML and S. With like my models, and I can go to models, that one. And now I can say, hey, I have access to my models namespace right here, and I can say models speaker. And now it knows like, hey, for this scope, I should look at the speaker entity, right? So if I start typing here now again for my binding, I can see all the things, right? I can see the bio, the company, the image URL, the name, all the things that come together with a speaker. Nice, nice, nice. Love it. So let's do this, let's do that, let's do company in here, and whoops, and then kind of like when we run it again, we should see all these things. Now, again, I'm not really... too late. Yeah, too late. Visual Studio already beat you to it. There we go, run it again. So now we're going to see the name and the company, and it already looks a little bit nicer, but I'm not a great designer. So again, let's just bring up like GitHub Copilot right here. I hope there's not any embarrassing chats in here. How do I center a diff? That kind of stuff. Please, let's just verify this first if I'm not lying. Perfect. Willy Vase there 2 times. He is really going for like a speaker career. He's like, I want to be on there twice. Perfect. Okay, so we have all the things. Oh, no, that was the company in the name. Oh, I got it. I'm smart, I swear. So I figured it out. It's fine. So if we get like GitHub Copilot in here too, like, hey, can you please help me with a design for the speakers, make sure to use .NET MAUI, right? We have to be really specific with like these copilots. I want to have the image URL. The image should be circular. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It knows how to spell. It will fix that for me too. Something like that. And it should show the name and company. Make the name a slightly bigger font and bold. Okay, let's see if that does anything. So now it's going to think, it's going to gather some references, and it's going to hopefully come up with like, oh, I started typing here, that's nice. With a little bit more nicer design than I had. I can see the Wi-Fi. Also use frame, okay, that's interesting because that's a deprecated control, so definitely do not do that. This is also why we need to double check our AI suggestions right here. But it's coming up slowly but surely, slowly but surely. Please do not use frame, but border. Maybe wait until it's done. Yeah. Ah, come on. Okay, this is a little bit too slow to actually come up with something nice there. Okay, so it's going to come up with like, this is stuff that's like, I don't know, I think it's super helpful, especially like, I know what I'm kind of like doing here, at least, I hope you think I do. But if you're like in a tech stack where you're maybe not so sure, this stuff is like super helpful. And it also really like helps me discover APIs that are there for like, hey, what is it actually recommending me to do? But you need to double check if it's like not using a frame when it shouldn't have and that kind of stuff. Okay, let's wait until this kind of like generates, preview, and then we can kind of like automatically insert this in here, vertical stack with a border, label, great. It still doesn't really do what I wanted, but I wasn't specific about it, so it's kind of like my fault, and it's not even building. That's amazing, perfect. Stroke shape, no, this is not what it should do. Or is it like ellipse or something? Okay. Just now, AI was saving my demo. Now it's breaking it. Let's go with a frame. Let's see what that does. Does that build? See, it gets the little squigglies. It's obsolete. Use a border instead. But it still does the trick. It's still in there. We can still use it. We'll go push this problem to tomorrow, right? That's what we do. And it still doesn't do what I want because I actually wanted to have like the little image on the left. And now it's going to be on the top, I think, because it's just a vertical stack. Like, this doesn't look too bad. So there we go. I see a little dog in here. Someone's camper van, Timon, nice. And I think like you probably maybe selected your image whenever you entered this, but the image in the little sample app that I created is not. I don't know. There's a bug in there, and I didn't really look into it. But here comes the official ones, right? So. There we go. And the fun thing is, it shows in a circle, but it's not actually circular, right? It's a square in a circle. But okay, thanks for trying, AI. We got it. It's fine. Perfect. Demo code. I can get away with it. Perfect. So we have all this. Now, the next thing we kind of like want to do is maybe get the sessions, right? Which is maybe a little bit boring because we're going to kind of like get the exact same thing. But let's focus then maybe on how we can get that in a nice page, right? Like what would be a nice layout? We could go for like the fly out where you have a little hamburger menu and things come out there. Or we have like tabs, right? Like if we think back to the little NDC app that had just a couple of tabs in there, I think that works nicely. So whenever we do that, we have the main page, right? That's still the thing that we're wiring up. So let's just start butchering this one a little bit. And I actually don't want to make this a content page, but we have a built-in tabbed page. And whenever you do that, then it starts to be like, squigglies, because now all the things in here need to be a page, right? And each page is going to be a separate tab. So let's just do that. And actually, if you can also use shell. I'm just throwing words at you right now that you can use Bing to look up later. So shell is also a concept in .NET MAUI, which is actually part of the default templates right here, with which you can say like, hey, I have this thing that I want to show in a tab bar right now. So you can do it like that, or you can just use the tab bar directly. That's all kind of like options that you have. And then I want to say, hey, I have this one content page. Technically, what you could do is say tab page dot, not title, dot children, I think, or what is it? I don't know. There's kind of like implicit, whenever you start typing pages here, listing pages here, it puts it in kind of like an implicit property that's here for the tab page. Can't remember what it is, children or tabs or whatever. But you should wrap everything now in a content page. So let's just have this one here, collection view, and now boom, we have it in a separate page, right? And what you then can do is say, hey, I want to give this a title, speakers. There we go. Indentation is a little bit weird now. It's fine. Whoop, there we go, fixed. So we have that one, and then in the content page, we can have another one, content page, with title is schedule, right? Something like that, schedule. There we go. Sorry? Sessions, yeah. I guess it's more schedule, sessions, whatever, something like that. Sessions, let's do sessions. So when I run this now, and you can also give it like, there's more properties, right? You can give it an icon, and you can give it like all the different things, and that will kind of like show up whatever, however a tab looked like whenever this build actually succeeds. Output, what's going on? Frame is obsolete, yes, but that's not the error, I guess. Oh, I know this one. Okay. Binding context is not in the current context. Yes, I get that one. So this one is always fun. Main page is now different, right? So the way kind of like XAML works is like your XAML is one part of your partial class, and then the actual C# code is the other part of your partial class. So you will see like, hey, all the XAML pages have like this partial keyword, right? And now it says like, but main page is now, I don't know, it's this little other thing. It's a tab page now. And the cool trick here is like, you don't even need to specify this. Like it's specified in one place right here that says it's the tab page, so we don't need this other thing. Just remove it. I don't know why it's in the templates. I need to put up a PR to remove that. I don't know why we do that. It's only confusing. Okay, so if I run this now, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. It's kind of interesting what it said about the binding context, but we should see tabs, hopefully. No, it's gonna crash. Shell's not compatible. See, I should have used shell. Boo. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just revert all of this. Git clean everything. Git boom destroy. Forget everything I said here. You can do that, but then you have to. Like I said, the default template is shell. So here in our app, it says like, hey, new app shell, right? And if I would do like new main page right here, then it would work. Then you could use the tab page. But now it's trying to wrap that tab page into a shell thing, and that's something we kind of like not want to do because then we have conflicting navigation structures and that kind of thing. So that's typically not something that you want to do. Okay, so let's just bring this all back. Pretend this never happened. Content page. Boom, there we go. Okay, so what you can say now, we have this main page, and we can go into this app shell right here, right? So this is nothing. This is your shell, right? So it's not necessarily a visible thing, but this is a opinionated kind of like way of how to structure your app. So here I can say, hey, I want to have this tab bar. Oh, AI is trying to help me again, which is fairly all right, actually. So we have this whole thing, and we want to have, it always forgets the closing tag for me somehow. So I need to condition it better, I guess. And then you can say, hey, tab bar, tab, there's one tab, other tab, boom. Or if you want to have like a flyout, I think you can say like, hey, flyout item and flyout separator, and you have a flyout header. So then you can kind of like get the hamburger menu, and whenever you have enough screen real estate, you will have like the whole thing. It will just show the bar kind of like dedicated there, and you can click around it too. So you can set up your app very easily without having to know how to work with the tabbed page or the flyout page or whatever. You just have this shell thing, and then you say, hey, I have a tab bar with this tab, with this title home, which is then actually this was the speakers. So this is kind of weird. I don't have a speakers page, and this was like the session, right? So let's do the sessions right here. I don't have a sessions page yet, so let's make it another main page. That's fine. And what's kind of like cool is we have this route right here with which you can do the navigation. So you can say shell.current.navigation, go to, and then you can specify the route here that you want to go to. So that automatically wired up too. And because it uses kind of like the templates, it uses lazy loading. So if you have like 4 tabs, it's not going to kind of like initialize all these pages, because if I now have like an endpoint for the sessions and the speakers, and who knows what else, maybe I'm loading the sponsors or whatever, then it's going to load it for all those 4 pages all at once if you start the app, which is not a great user experience, right? So we have these templates and they kind of like lazy load, so only whenever you go to a tab, it will load up that thing. So hopefully it got this right, AI. Whenever I do this, now I have like, hey, I have this tab bar with 2 tabs in here. One is going to be the speakers and the sessions. The content is the exact same for now, but then we can kind of like move on to implement the other thing. See, so now we have the thingies right here. Again, I could add an icon here, and you can see like, hey, it moves around, and I can do all these things, right? So if I would very quickly also get all the sessions in here. Maybe it's more interesting if I kind of like show the navigation, because the sessions is like, hey, it's going to be the same thing, right? It's going to get the data, it's going to show that list, so that's all not super interesting. So maybe what we want to do is go back to my main page right here and say, hey, I want to tap on something and then I want to go into the details, right? I want to know more about this speaker. So there's several ways that you can do this. The collection view has kind of like a selected item and some events that come together with that, and commands. Another way to kind of like do this is add a tab gesture recognizer. So you do that inside of an element. So you have this vertical stack layout, and kind of like every element in .NET MAUI has a gesture recognizers, and that's a container for you can tab, you can pinch, you can pan, you can have all kinds of like long press tab gesture recognizers, and that will allow you to do things as well. So the tab one. This is very elaborate, but looks okay. And here I can say like, hey, I want to have this command executed whenever I tap on this element, right? So in this case, it's kind of like my whole speaker, kind of like card view or whatever. So whenever I tap somewhere in that whole thing, it's going to take me to this other page, because that's what I'm going to implement right now. If I would only put it on the image, that's something I could totally do. You have to tap specifically on the image, right? So you can do it on a whole layout, on just one specific element, and then you can trigger some action. You could also maybe have that little avatar icon and click on that, and so that you can pick a new profile image from your file system or from the camera or something, right? So that's something that you can do as well. Now, this is a little bit complicated, what you can see right here, which comes back to the scoping that I talked about earlier, because right here we're looking at like one speaker, right? We're still in a one speaker scope, but actually this command, like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have this speaker selected command implemented on the speaker model, right? So that would be a little bit weird. So what's this kind of like doing is saying, hey, I have this reference to main page. I have to actually make that reference here. So X name is main page. So now, you know, this just creates a main page variable name, which is maybe not the best name because it's also the class name. My main page, there we go. And this says like, hey, I'm referencing this thing. And then for my data binding, I want to use the path, the binding context, so the binding context of my main page, which is actually a main page. Are you still following? I can talk for at least a day about MVVM and data binding. And in that binding context, which is actually, like if we go back to our main page example, is the speaker page view model, it's going to look for this speaker selected command, right? So now we have to come up with a command to actually go somewhere. And the command parameter is going to be dot, binding dot, which looks very odd. That's again, the one speaker. So here we're going to say, hey, with the command that we're going to implement, we're going to provide a parameter, and that's going to be a speaker object. Right, so we're going to provide the speaker object so that we don't. You could also do like the speaker ID, and maybe you go out because maybe your object here doesn't have like the full details. So you could do the speaker ID, and then whenever you get to the speaker details page, you can pull the data for that ID from your API, right? So maybe your speaker has a whole lot of more details. But if your speaker has like simple type and you have the data already pulled in here, why would you want to go out to your server again, right? Like if you're in the mobile context, mobile data. In the Netherlands, we have pretty good data plans, but still they're limited and somewhat expensive, right? Like my monthly bill is going up again, I think, at KPN. Nice. Is there any people from KPN here? I'm gonna have to talk to you. So no, but that still costs money. So if you don't have to go back and forth to get more data, please don't. It will eat in your performance and data and that kind of stuff. So we got all that. So I'm just going to provide the speaker object here, and I want to implement that right here. So let's do prop command. What did it name it? I'm also coming up on time, I think, so this is going to be the last thing that we're kind of like going to see. I've lost my way here. There we go. Perfect. Then I'm going to wire up here my speaker selected command. Oh, AI. AI is going to save the day. And I'm going to wire up this command, right? So here in the constructor, I'm going to say new command. And again, like command is more like the MVVM way of triggering events, right? So typically you would say like, hey, on clicked, and you would have this event. But if you want to follow MVVM and keep your code testable and clean and that kind of stuff, you want to work with commands because that's actually a data bindable object, and events will just put it in like the code behind of your page, and whenever you're going to change your page design, you have to do these different events too, and that's all not great, right? And then we can say like, hey, whenever we expect a parameter, it's going to be a speaker object, so we know that that's coming in. Whenever this is not null, I want to do this is not null, I like that better. Navigate to the speaker details page, and this is where that route comes in, right? So shell and current is just a static object that refers to the shell instance that we're using here, and then the current implementation one. Go to async, so we have a couple of more things, I think, that we can call on that shell, if IntelliSense would show me. There we go. So we have like events like on appearing, right? That kind of things. You can set the background for the whole thing, which you probably want to do on page. You can access that flyout that I mentioned, probably the tabs and all these kinds of things. Set the is busy. So you have a whole bunch of things that you can do. And you can do navigation with it. So you can say, hey, go to async speaker details page. And then here it does say the speaker ID, which is then not super valuable again because I have the whole thing already. So what I can also do is say, hey, animate. Okay, yes, that's one of the overloads. But I can also provide query parameters. So I can kind of like pass along, which is just a dictionary of string, because it has like a key, and then in this case a speaker, and I can pass that speaker in here. Is that not how I'm supposed to? Oh no, I have to also, of course, have the actual speaker. I don't know, something like that. Is this how I'm supposed to do it? Still no? I need another bracket here. And this is not correct. Okay, perfect. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm doing, I swear. So what you can do here is say, hey, like we are going to pass in a dictionary with a key of speaker. You can add multiple things in here, and the actual speaker object. And then you can, to bool, what are you trying to do here? Oh, because it's trying to do that, pass this in the animate thing. That's stupid. Shell navigation query parameters, does that help? No? Okay, I'm gonna give up. And then what you can do is like on the speaker details page, you can have a little attribute. It's called like query property, see? And that's how you can kind of like catch the value right here. And then you would have to have a property speaker, which is also called speaker, so that's not great. Let's make this selected speaker. That's maybe better. Speaker. So this is on the receiving end, right? Like if we would actually go to like the speaker's detail page, you would have like a speaker details page view model. You would put this property of this attribute on there and say like, hey, selected speaker should be mapped to this speaker key, right? So then whatever you pass down here with this key will be kind of like deserialized in the property that you have right here, and then you can do the rest of your work with it, right? You can set that as the binding context for the details page, and all the details of your speaker actually show up there. Perfect. Cool. Actually, let's figure out, I got a couple of minutes left, so let's make this our mission to see why. Yeah. Yeah, it should be just a dictionary that I could use. So I'm probably doing this wrong. New dictionary. And then whatever the hell this is. Sorry? Another. How many brackets do you want? More? Can I just do something in here? Why does it? It tries to keep casting it to a bool. What is? Ugh. Oh, iDictionary string. Yeah, so do that. Does it need to be like string object? Is that the thing? I know the answer. I'm just testing you now, but you're not doing great. I give up. Cool. So you know what? Let's ask AI. How do I provide the speaker object as a query parameter for the navigation? It's my last straw. I think I got like is the 5-minute sign coming up yet? That was 10 minutes ago? Really? I'm already over time? No one has told me? Oh, wow. Kudos that you're still here. Nice. Okay, I could just go through the whole coffee break then. That's fine. You're committed. You're motivated. Okay, almost. Show me what am I doing wrong? Oh, now it's going to do... No. Okay, I'm just going to stop here. Stop AI, you're embarrassing yourself. Okay, I'm already over time apparently, so thank you so much for joining me, watching me struggle here on stage right here. I hope you learned a little bit about how to make .NET MAUI apps. If you want to know more, I do a little thing on YouTube about .NET MAUI, Blazor, that kind of stuff, .NET in general. If you want to reach out, that's my handle that no one can pronounce, GF Versluis. Yeah, Versluis? Yeah. Or just my email if you want to do something in private. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.